All right. All right. We are live.
Yes. Hello,
Welcome.
everybody.
Welcome to Impromptu with myself, Antoinette Sawyer, or Tony Sawyer, if you want to call me Tony, or and then my sidekick, Norman Armstrong.
Hey there, everybody.
I'm in North Carolina, Norman's in South Carolina.
South Carolina. We got the Carolinas covered.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Weather's good here. What's yours like?
Beautiful. It is beautiful day. Feel like spring.
Wow, it's nice and warm, but it's overcast. But I love overcast days. So
Well, you know, Joe Bill,
here comes the boss man.
What's up, Dad?
I got to get something to wipe my schnauzer.
Oh, yeah, we've been kind of sniffly around here and coughing and stuff. I think it's some allergy stuff going around.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
lot of people here, and it's because like a couple of days ago we was in the 30s. Now we're close to the 80s today. And so
yeah, man. I
it's
love it.
off.
I love it, but my sinuses are having a heyday with it. But I
Mhm,
got up in the middle of the night. I was coughing from nasal post nasal drip, and I used the saline spray, and
mhm.
that really helped. Do you do that?
I haven't used saline spray as of I've had before, but I haven't recently. I haven't really been having a lot of problems. Just today, I got the little sniffles. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
me too. Me too. I haven't had any problems either, but until just recently.
You probably
But
got a big booger up in there you didn't get out.
oh, okay. Hello, Linda. How are you?
Hello, Linda D.
Shit, we've
She's
been
our
locked in.
faithful fan. She is such a faithful fan. Thank you, Linda, for showing up. She
Showing
said,
up, showing out, and showing down.
what's weather like in Washington State? Tell us what it's like up there." I would love to visit Washington State. You know,
Really?
yeah, I would. I've always wanted to visit Washington
Oh,
State.
mm,
Maybe
sweet
that'll
green.
put that on my bucket list.
Ooh.
All right. Hey, let's make it happen. Let's make it
Oh, I know you a road runner. You love to go.
happen.
You
So
love to
tap
go.
it in. Yes.
Linda, let us know if you can hear us and see us clearly. Last week we had issues, and man, we made it through though. We made it through.
Hmm.
But let us know if you're hearing and seeing us clearly. Looks good on our end, so we just want to make sure it's good on your end. So today, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're always talking about the atmosphere change and living in that atmosphere. Um, and she says it's rainy there.
I
Yeah,
like rain. I
I,
don't like to see people get flooded
my
out.
husband loves rain. He loves rain.
But I don't want to see people get washed out.
Yeah, yeah, me either. But yeah, rain is good. Rain is good. Yeah. So I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to jump in. Yeah, Pastor Norman's running revival all week.
Oh,
So
yeah, he did.
what are your topics? Your
Well, it just started last night, and I spoke from the topic on last night. Declare life. Um,
okay, okay.
speaking life to areas that seem to be dead. Of course, I came from Ezekiel chapter 37, where Ezekiel was
Dry
led by
bones.
the Spirit of the Lord to speak to the dry bones,
Mm-hmm,
prophesy them
mm-hmm,
to live again. So yeah,
mm-hmm.
so I kind of
Wow.
foundation for that last night. Um, it's funny when you mentioned about the topic because something happened and we discussed this before. The pastor that is, have me coming over the church. He was sitting in this chair,
Mm,
and it's one of those ergonomic chairs, real nice chairs, help your
mm-hmm,
back and everything. And on
mm-hmm,
the back of his chair, written in big letters,
mm-hmm.
was the word emerge.
Oh, okay.
And it jumped out to me. And of course, we talked about this, and
Yeah.
I've been doing some more research and studying concerning the emergence that is happening, um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the evolution of man, so to speak. And when I saw that, it caused something to leap in me because I think a lot of people in, I would have to say, in the church sector, that
Mm-hmm.
particular sector, I think they, many of them, not all of them, there are some that are very aware, but they won't say anything. And then
Mm-hmm.
many that is not aware that there is a evolution that is happening to mankind as a whole. uh,
Yes.
that
Yes.
goes far beyond our religious practices and our
Yes.
religious beliefs. And I've been doing a lot of research and studying on it, and I personally feel that what's happening. We talked about the great awakening that is occurring. We're
Mhm.
becoming more conscious and aware of our divine selves, and so I
Yeah.
kind of touched on that in revival last night and so forth. So that is pretty much the vein I've been in, researching and really seeking Dad, our Heavenly Father, the Spirit, uh,
Mhm.
concerning what is this transition? I mean, even as we're talking about the atmosphere of change, there is a change that is occurring with
Mhm.
mankind. And
Yeah.
what happened here recently, I don't know if y'all experienced something, but something has happened in our area, my immediate area. There
Mhm.
has been a breakout of violence and unexplainable events, even as we've been talking about the expected, unexpected. There
Mhm.
has been some serious, chaotic drama that has broken out around us. And
Mm.
so I'm wondering if, because of the process that mankind is going through, because it seems like we're becoming more animalistic and violent towards one another
Yeah. Yes.
and so
Yes.
forth. So I'll throw that out there just to get us started.
Yeah. Wow. That's very insightful. And I think it's happening all over. And I do believe that we're more aware of it now because we get the news of everything and the news that's happening all over the world. So it's not like years ago we didn't have that constant influx of what's happening around the globe. And so it makes us more aware, and the world's smaller now. So I think the upheaval is everywhere. It's everywhere. If you look at all, there are lots of countries right now that are in political upheaval. Just
Mhm.
it's there. It is, and I do believe, like you said, it's from the shift that mankind is in, the transitional shift.
Mhm.
Uh, I heard Eckhart Tolle say once that before mankind can enter into the period of awakening, there must be the dissolution of every system that
Mhm.
is now, and dismantling of every system so that correction can be made. And that,
Exactly.
that I think we're in the correction.
Mhm.
I do believe we're in the correction.
It's
And
good
it's
that you said that, because even dealing with, I would say, systems, ministries, any entity out there, when we talk about restoring or going through the process of restoration, a lot of people seem not to understand that before you can restore, you have to dismantle.
Yeah, and we see that, and we
Uh,
see that every day in the medical field. Before they can heal a wound, they've got to mess with it. And sometimes I remember when I was managing the physical therapy clinic, there was only one wound that I couldn't really stomach to watch. One thing that they would do, and that was burn victims. They would go through a debriding. So there was this removal of the skin that had been burned down to what I call the pink meat, all the way down to the white meat. And it was very painful for the patients. And but that's correction.
mhm.
It has to That has to happen in order for the healing to take place. So I know that in order for, and I remember back, we were talking about this yesterday, when I was I think around in the fifth grade, I broke my arm.
Mhm.
And when I broke my arm, it was a severe break. But in order to fix it, I had to go through the correction. They
Mhm.
had to reset that bone. And so I think we're in a major reset.
Mhm.
I think that's what's happening all over. And we've got quite a few people popping in today.
Mhm.
Of course, Linda, we thank Linda for being here. Yes, Linda, I would love to visit you, girl. We're going to try it one day. And David came and Oliver just popped in. Hey, Ollie. And Jill, she just popped in. And then there's James Dixon. And we also, I think that's it. But then Linda says maybe there is good happening all over we never hear about on the news. Yeah, that because the news doesn't report that. It doesn't report that.
And I love what you said concerning correction because going back to scripture, we always mention about, especially when we want to bring order to a quote unquote a church, we mention the scripture, God chastised those who he loved. But
Mhm, mhm.
I think we misunderstand what they mean by chastise or bringing correction to that which he loves. And so just like
Yes,
you said,
yes.
because I've had several breaks in my lifetime. I broke my leg twice, my fingers again. I was an athlete, so I always had these breaks. And like you said, they have to reset it
Mhm.
in order for it to heal. And a lot of times, if it don't heal properly, they have to break it again and
Yes,
reset it. And
yes.
so again, a lot of what is going on, it may feel uncomfortable. It's very unnerving. But I'm noticing, like even like for example, a lot of these major Fortune 500 companies is laying off large numbers of people now. We had some incidents that's going on here in
Mhm.
our area of people that's being laid off in the educational system, and a lot of the layoffs are not making any sense,
True, true.
and so forth. And so again, like
So that tells me, and I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry,
yeah,
but that tells me that we are in another pandemic, but
exactly.
it's not one that affects the physical so much as it does the mind, the mental state. So it's like a pandemic of anxiety has hit because of the reset.
Hmm. And
Hmm.
so, because of man being afraid of the unknown, I believe that's why everybody is in this emotional upheaval because the things are happening as unexplainable, and so they are now being led by their emotions versus like you talked about last week,
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to become still and let our emotions subside before
Hmm.
we make certain decisions and so forth.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
again, it's causing so many people to be on edge, unnerved, and all they have to do is be still and know that it's
So,
God.
so knowing that we're in a reset, kind of alleviates a lot of the anxiety that one may feel. Now, Oliver mentions this, and I agree with Oliver. And I think I heard
Yeah, I saw the
Carlton
broadcast.
say this.
Talk said
He
that.
said that Carlton Pearson said that we aren't in as much trouble as it appears to be, and that's true because we're in transition, and it
Exactly.
is a reset. And that if we those of us who are fully awake, uh, we know that, and so we're keeping our eyes on that particular aspect, that things are turning around, and in that turning, there are some things that are causing some friction, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Jill said this. She says we just discussed the mental health crisis in a meeting this morning. Yes,
Yeah.
that that is what the next pandemic is. It is a mental crisis. Yeah.
Yep. It is the
The new
soul.
norm.
It is the soul becoming unnerved because it is losing its power.
Yes. And every system, the egoic systems are losing power. And that's why there's so much of that. So it's a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. And I was looking at some of my notes this morning and I ran across this. What is Christ consciousness? And then my answer to that, and I don't know when I wrote this, but it was the Christ consciousness is not for the purpose of making demonstrations, but for lifting you into the place where it's not necessary to fight with appearances.
That's good. That's good. I'll read that again. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, Christ consciousness is not for the purpose of making demonstrations, but for lifting you into the place where it is not necessary to fight with appearances.
That's so good. That's so good. So it puts us in a place where we don't walk around feeling like we have to do this or we have to do that. In essence, being performance based.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. And Lord knows I was conditioned to perform.
Mhm.
And my whole demeanor has been, prior to the coming into an awareness of it, has been to perform to be loved.
Exactly.
And because that's what I was conditioned with my family. So having to coming to a place where realizing I don't have to do anything to be loved is wonderful.
Mhm.
It's wonderful. And that God is not punishing, but he is simply correcting.
Exactly. That is the perfect statement, and that's what a lot of people see now because we've been guilty of that back in the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, you
yeah.
know, trying to bring order and telling people that God going to punish them and so forth.
Mhm.
But again, like you said, there is a true difference between punishing and correcting.
Yes, yeah.
And I believe firmly that there is much correction in the midst of this emergence or evolution to bring man back to his true self or his true identity.
Yeah, and this is good, because it isn't so much God as a separate being correcting, but it is the circumstances and the situations that cause so much suffering that makes man and pushes man to correct himself.
Mhm.
To correct himself. For instance, I'll give you an example. When we're on the highway and we're driving and you swerve too much to the right, you quickly correct yourself because you know what's going to happen if you don't correct yourself. And this is what's taking place now. The majority of us are coming to a place of seeing where we're out of alignment and
Exactly.
making a deliberate correction in our lives. And sometimes that means leaving things, putting things off, and accepting other things. And so that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from, because there's uncertainty in the midst of that.
Hmm.
But yes, there is a reason for man to correct himself. And I think that in essence is God doing it.
Hmm.
Oliver says this: many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the purposes of God that shall prevail. Love is the prevail when love is the prevail winds that are blowing in the awareness of our Christ self. Yes, yes,
Exactly.
exactly. We are. It's like Christ is
Hmm.
being uncovered in all of us.
It's
You,
funny
you,
you
like
said
you want to say something?
Oh, yeah.
because
Wait.
in Second Corinthians chapter 5, and I mentioned this last night, where it says, "Wherefore henceforth know we no man after the flesh. Yea, though we have known Christ after the flesh, yet now henceforth know we him
No more.
no more."
Hmm. Hmm.
So it is talking about if any man be in Christ or be aware, or again, talk about oneness,
Hmm.
new creature. And so
Hmm.
that is one of the areas I've been researching as far as, once again, this emergence, this evolution. Because when we talk about emergence, we're talking about um, the change of properties or a new species that's manifesting. And so
Hmm.
go back and look at all of the things that we were taught in history and biology concerning mankind. There has been a consistent cycle of evolution where man, at each stage, he's been improving himself or becoming more aware of
Hmm.
potential that he was never aware of.
Hmm. Yeah, just recently, you remember my niece Shelly
Uh-huh.
and her son Darius. Well, in Shelly's dad's in her family, her dad's side, there's a young man who's about the same age as Shelly's son, my nephew, my great nephew. He's 17, and he hasn't had the right mentoring, nurturing. He hasn't had that. And recently, he got into a gunfight and got shot 3 times. And fortunately, he's recovering. He didn't have any fatal shots. But at the same time, I was thinking about this and talking with my sister. I'm hoping that this incident will be the thing that'll help wake him up.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, because you see a person going down a certain path, you can't change that path. But life situations are set up to help change that path or change the trajectory of where that person's going and help them wake up. Hopefully, this will help him to see this isn't the right lifestyle for me. This isn't the way I need to go. So he will correct himself. So
Exactly.
a lot of people would say he got shot because God's just going, he's running from God and God's allowing him to get. No, it's not that. He's being presented with all of these life situations based on his own decisions and consequences that come from those decisions. And now he's got to make a decision to correct himself or continue to go down that trajectory. And so it's really in our hands.
Exactly.
It's really in our
Exactly.
hands.
And I'm glad you said that, because when we talk about becoming aware of our divine self, that means that you take responsibility and accountability for your own actions, your own decisions, your own consequences that you created.
Exactly.
You designed this and you set this all in motion. And so religion teaches us, again, that God is doing everything. Well, what would be the need for our existence? What would be the need of all that we are experiencing if he's actually doing all of this? Now, he set things in motion, but at the same time, we're one with him. So we're part of this whole process.
Yes. So we're the ones being set in motion.
Exactly.
Yes. And so we are presented with all of these life challenges in order to help wake us up. And I was thinking about this on before we went live. I was sitting and contemplating just the word recognition. And I went to, of course, Google it and all of that, but it didn't satisfy me with the definition. So after sitting and contemplating, I realized that we must come into a full recognition of who we are, but that can't happen without this right here. It must be a remembering that which you always knew but have forgotten.
Hmm. Exactly.
I
That's
was,
that's that's funny that you said that, Mom. You're very aware of that. When you used to be the administrator of a therapy.
Yeah,
Often,
manager of physical therapy. Yes.
well, oftentimes when people go through certain incidents that cause injuries, such as someone may have broken their back or their legs or something, and they have forgotten
Mm-hmm.
to walk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's such situations that
Mm-hmm.
the injury is healed enough that they have the strength to actually walk, but the mind has to be retrained.
And the correction has been made, but
E-
now they go through the retraining process.
Exactly. So
Very good. Very
okay.
good.
I'm going to say something to myself, all of us, at the same time.
Okay.
Give me a little while to break it down to you, because I've been dealing with all night of healing miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out part of it through looking at, I don't know what part of the course, I'd have to go back and look at
The lesson
the
number and all of
lesson
that.
number. But I finally, when I asked the question up at night, what am I here for? All of this building shut down, the ministers and the brick and mortar shut down. And evidently that was not all of it. It was a portion of it. Now, I want you to hear this about forgiveness. I'm a little bit full with this.
It's okay.
I heard forgiveness of darkness. I saw a black wall like this. This is it. This is it. I was in colonoscopy investigation, and in part of my awareness, under the doctors working on one part body, I was in another place in the recovery room and doing the surgery or the examination. And a dark wall, the same darkness.
Like you're facing now, because this room is painted black.
I saw this symbol. And Solomon's temple, the presence of God was darkness that came into the building. I never thought that the reason why each of us in this evolution of beingness, every speed bump and every bit of resistance and impasses that we came into, impasses mean that that's something you're going to have to survive through. And there are different ways to go through darkness. Jesus when he come into the temple, and this is what I picked up from the course this morning, one of the things that is most difficult to do in this class, and many others that are online doing things, the ability to allow spirit to translate this to you.
Yeah.
Okay, how much you read the Bible or the course.
Yeah.
Even your driver's license. Listen to this.
Yes.
Your driver's license don't tell you how to drive. It just puts it out there from the left brain. These are the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring you guys to something that was very important, Pastor. This was before I met you and any of y'all. The Lord woke my wife up and said, in a Saturday night service that we were supposed to have the first time under this new mentor, he was a prophetic guy and seeing in spirit and all that stuff. He was very crude, very rough, raw.
Full of judgment
and
legalism, and he was God's policeman.
He invited me and her to speak on a Saturday night. And when he did, I didn't know I was entering in. What he showed me was the prophetic ministry of Jeremiah, the weeping prophet. And each time I would go into the weeping part of it, I could hear God inside and all around me and receive instructions of what to do. I got so deep into the groaning and travailing that it felt like Jesus was at Lazarus' tomb. He got Lazarus out of the tomb, and not by just the power of resurrection he was. He got Lazarus out of the tomb by identification.
He didn't get out of the tomb. He didn't get him out of the tomb by just saying, I am. Either.
Yeah, and the ego wants us to say he spoke the word. But let me tell you something. There is no better word or Bible to hear than him. And you'd have to see that by insight to see what I mean when I say him. All right, let me go on. I didn't know, I was in we was in the 20s, just got married young, didn't know these things, but God was introducing these things to us in a fast way. We stayed with him about 3 or 4 years, maybe, give or take a little. But each time, now watch this. When I went out, it was a line of people out the door. And a person would come up, and I would know what was going on in their life before they got in the door.
This is after I was waking and announced to you that was going to happen.
Yeah. Then I started walking out in the audience, and I looked at people, and I could see, and I would see knowing. I would see by knowing
Mm-hmm.
Not so much a vision, but you can see in the spirit world by knowing or by vision or by kinesthetic feeling, empathicness.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now here it is. I'm teaching you something here that you may know, but you didn't get because you moved. No judgment there, okay? But you're still getting it now. And when I looked at them, the angel would point at them and said, before I got to them, this is the one. Talk to this one. Before I could tell them anything, hear this, please. I didn't know I had to forgive me and them in order to see what was going on in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's forgiveness. Forgiveness is spiritual and it is physical. Physical part of Christ came forth in the dream, in this story, to reveal a body that suffered for all mankind's humanity, body, flesh, suits.
Yeah.
All right, here it is. When I looked at them, you guys, I had to become them willingly. Well, we already them. We are each other verbally talking, conversation by knowing left brain information and paper and writing down and just flipping our lip and talking out the side of our neck and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We do that. But have you ever been out? If you ever been out in the woods hunting with somebody that really experienced with dogs and hunting, when they shoot that gun, they are the bullet that come out of the gun. And then they have to become the gun. They can stay out there all day and half the night, fishing the same way.
Uh-huh.
And I went into them. I had to be them. I could not do, he wouldn't let me operate in the ego part about, I got the gift, I got the healing. I had to become Jesus.
Exactly.
I had to become the brokenness and the compassion of him.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. That will spin your wheels because there's a part of us that's unwilling
Yep.
to be each other. Even though we are each other, we allow, each time people say the anointing come on me and I can do miracles. You're not supposed to stop because you had something that made you feel like you were doing it and then something lifted, now you can't do it. There's no such thing. When Jesus walked into the temple and he read from the book of Isaiah, I don't care whether it's true or not. What matters is this insight revealed to me that the reason why, here comes, the reason why that manifestation of darkness came out of a man's mouth telling out loud to leave us alone. We don't want to be bothered with you. Do you know every time you go to the store and going to the doctor's office anywhere, there's something in the air around that in that event that says, I don't want you in here. Get out. Let me show you something. Jesus absorbed darkness with the light of his beingness.
Yes.
He had to go into these places where he was willing to stop being separated from any of them. And true forgiveness, restored from the fall of man, is returning back to being them.
Yeah.
The sin of separation is I'll be me and you be you.
Yes. Yes.
And I can't heal you right if I don't go all the way with this thing. I'll heal you by excuse my friend, a damn fake preacher or a fake saint or a fake dream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to heal people with a dream. I want you to heal them with reality.
That's good. That's good, Dad.
The reality of this. You can't forgive being Norman. You can't forgive being Jill. You can't forgive being Oliver. You can't forgive
Mm-hmm.
There's only one forgiveness,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's union with
Yeah.
Christ.
Yep. Yep.
Or I'm sorry, please forgive me. I'm trying my best to make it sound, but I
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
forgiveness of being separated from each other. Your sins are remitted. Positioning. I don't want a position. I want reality.
I want to read this. I want to read this for you. It says in 2 Corinthians 2 and 10, it says, "To whom you forgive anything, I forgive also. For if I forgave anything, to whom I forgave it for your sakes, forgave I it in the person of Christ."
Now
See,
you see. Now
that's it. That is it.
uh,
Mhm.
I noticed that each time I had a service to go to or be in, I could go there and be a preacher. I can go there be blending in with the crowd. I can come online and lay everybody out and tell them they're doing wrong, sin. I got a lot of things I like to say.
Yeah.
It ain't worth a fat baby's butt. Just telling people what's wrong with them.
No, it's not. That's right. And
That's
doing
funny
what they
'cause
ought to do. What
I
they
heard
ought
him
to do.
say that before we got on the broadcast today. I was laughing about some things that Bishop said. I heard him say that.
Mhm.
Darkness is our servant.
Yes.
It,
Yeah.
it all works hand in hand.
Darkness is our servant. Darkness is redeemed by light. Jesus went into the temple and darkness had to remove itself
Yeah. 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 And it exposed
and
darkness.
expose
Yes,
what
it did.
darkness was.
Mhm.
When I started watching as a little boy, I was trained. I didn't know God was training me when I was born.
Right.
I was born being trained.
Yeah, we've all
And so are
being
all of us.
trained. Yes, being trained the whole
But
time.
I used to watch the bulldozers and the trains and the tractors and trailers, and then I would go make them out of wood, and I still do. But I didn't know what was going on. He was training me for forgiveness. You say, how can he train you to look up under a tractor, get up on it, and sit like it's yours, and you're a little boy? I said, well, let me see. My daddy would sit me on his lap, and he would say, "You want to drive?" Yeah, I'm a little boy. So I sit on his lap, and I'm looking over the steering wheel. I'm driving, and the car be going back and forth across the road, and he stabilized me. And I was thinking that in order to drive the car, I had to look down in front of it.
Mhm.
All right, come on now. Come on, come on. As I got older and started driving, my uncle bought my first car. I had to learn in a straight drive the timing of the engine, when to mash the clutch, when to let it out, and one of the most challenging things was to be on a hill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Ah, ah,
And see,
ah.
we came through the era where you didn't have signals built into your vehicles. You had to stick your arm out the door.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, and all that
Doesn't
stuff.
matter what the weather was, you had to stick your arm out that door.
Okay.
Wow.
Then I had trouble trying to park it. I saw cars had these little antennas on the side. When they know they're close to the curb, they're straight.
Yeah.
But my God, somewhere you're gonna scrape them off. So I saw a lot of people parking their car, done rubbed the black off the tire and the white
And if they were
part of the
white
tire was
walls,
showing.
if they were white walls, they were black walls by
Yeah.
the time we got through.
Now here's the key to forgiveness. I didn't know this until now.
And you're answering Jill's question. She said, "Is that unwillingness to accept oneness because of fear?" And it's not an accepting oneness as a concept. And that's what you're saying.
It's not a
It's
concept.
not a concept. It is an actual being one with that one with the.
Jill, let me explain something to you and all of us at the same time. You go to a funeral. He told me why we cry at funerals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Watch this. When they went to Jesus' tomb and he was gone, they started telling lies. You know, he died from alcohol. You know, he died from overeating. You know, he had a blood clot. You know, he passed gas the other day and fell out under the sink and died. You know, silliness, foolishness. That's why I did that. I found out that in order to drive a car and for a man to be up on one of the world's largest bulldozers, D11, Caterpillar, and then Labahur, and all them different names, you got to drive that tractor, that bulldozer, that car by being this.
You have to become it, right?
You have to be the. You have to be the car.
Mm-hmm.
My Jeep out there has got 5 to 6 inches of tire sticking out from it, and when I go into a drive-through, if I don't submit myself to being those tires, extend the spider sense, I extend my awareness, I'm gonna run up on the window. I'm gonna run up on the curve, and I'll be all jacked up when I get to the window to pay them. That I'm gonna have to pay for my damage.
So it's going back to what we read years ago about the release of the spirit, release of your spirit. And we've seen a lot of performers. They'll get on the stage, and some of them they sing the song, or and it sounds perfect, but there's no spirit in it. Okay. And when I say that, I don't mean they're not religiously having a spirit in it. I'm saying there's no release of them being in it. They're not in it. Exactly. They're doing it, but they're not in it.
Yeah. The essence of who they are is, and y'all were not with me last night in my in the service. I talked about that, about the release of the spirit, because in Ezekiel, something I read it. I preached from that particular chapter 37. I mean, it's probably one of the most preached texts in Christendom, the Valley of Dry Bones. But in the beginning, I never really focused on a part where he said the Lord took him in the spirit, took him out in the spirit. That kept sticking out to me, and so I was reminded that God is a spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. And so, to touch base on something that Dad was saying, a lot of the manifestations that we desire, the reason why they're not coming forth is because we're not doing it from the place of who we really are.
Yeah.
And again, we are not to know anyone by the flesh. We are to know one another by the spirit. And so I noticed in the text that the only God was taking Ezekiel through a training process. Mm-hmm. And y'all, like I said, y'all were not even assured. He took him in a training process. He took him out in the spirit, and then he asked and put him in the midst of the dry bones. And he asked him this question: can these bones live again? Mm-hmm. Now, he asked Ezekiel that question, but Ezekiel's response was, Lord, you know. But if he was operating out of oneness and identity, his response should have been yes, because the Lord called him Son of Man, which, remember, Jesus was known as Son of Man one moment and Son of God the next moment. So again, operating in two different worlds. And so then he gave him the command to prophesy or to declare to the world to live again. And so I saw that, and I was sharing that with him. I said, a lot of the things, while we're frustrated, while we're aggravated, agitated, we're not realizing that we're trying to produce something from our false identity, our false self, rather than connecting to our divine identity. And that's where we produce, and then the result will be manifested. It would be our reality.
Yes, yes.
In long days ago, before we became materialized, insight, mechanical, giving birth was helped by a midwife. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we had one in our neighborhood that was like that when I was growing up. Her name was Miss Estelle.
And a lot of children were born at home during that time.
When my uncle and they would fight and he pulled a shotgun on us, the first house I went to a lot of times was her house because something was drawing me to her, and we wanted to. I guess we wanted to live with everybody in the neighborhood, anything to get out of that hell that we go through.
Yeah.
As a little boy, I was
Yeah.
guiding her around the neighborhood to try to find somewhere to stay. But anyway, I never thought of actually being Christ. I said, well, ain't nobody can be that. But when I found out that he is us, no limitations, no excuses, no applications, no memory of anything, no more than, you don't have to remember this. Everything we talk about, you don't have to remember. Your memory is automatic. Oh, fall over there. Lean on the everlasting arm. Lean over there. We sing it in church, but here we go. And when I come in front of people, I mean people that had cancer, and it bothers me now sometimes. I had to push because I didn't know how to do it any other way. I found that I can do it now by relaxing, by knowing, by seeing and experiencing the oneness with God. But when Jesus was in that tomb, the tomb symbolizes our fleshly suits. The tomb symbolizes the cup. We have this treasure in earthen vessels.
You better go ahead, Dad.
The excellency of the power may be what is cooling on the inside, coming through the outside.
Not of us.
Linda said it right here. She said it. Our outside world is our inside self pushed out.
That's what I'm saying. When I said releasing of your spirit, it's pushing yourself out. And I remember there's a scripture that in Matthew where it says Jesus moved with compassion.
That's right.
And healed them all.
That's right.
It had to be a spending of his emotions.
That's right.
Being pushed out.
That's right.
In order to heal those people. And so the best way I can describe that, the preview of that pushing out, when you look at when you look at another person, even if they're irritating and don't get out, your heart has to open up to them.
Yes.
It has to soften and open up for you to push out that you are to heal that person.
I asked the request. I made a request in front of certain ones. Will you please help me to push this baby I got in me out? And the baby was the grief, the pain of empathicness being so weighty that if this does not take place, I can't help them.
Well, I remember
in that particular way.
Yeah, I remember that, and I don't know if everyone will ever.
That's the price.
Ever have the same operations that you the way you do your mode.
That's right. You're right.
But I remember very well when in our early days there was a lot of healings performed, but they came after the brokenness.
Yeah.
And there was like you said, the Jeremiah weeping prophet.
Yeah.
There was so much weeping of compassion for them until you didn't really have to do anything.
That's true.
People were starting to get healed without you even touching them.
That's right.
Without you even saying anything. The presence of what you are pushed out through an open heart actually heals people.
And it was then through those days that I saw the material that the veil in the temple was made out of was Jesus' robe that I was wearing.
Wow.
I saw it. I saw it. And you could not, ain't no way in the ham sandwich. A bad ham sandwich. You said you lived with your mama, your daddy, and you brothers this, and you didn't ever do that. Pastor Norman, There ain't no such way for you to go through this thing being Norman Armstrong or Sawyer. No, 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 no. Come on, let's jump the fence. Catherine, you say right. You put a fence around God, he'll jump it every time.
Yes, yes, yes.
You can't do this in separated identity.
Nope.
I rest my case.
You rested.
You know what? I'm going to tell you guys, the reason why I say that sometimes is because I really don't feel the strength of coming online all the time to push myself out to talk. And I know that in order to talk, watch this now. The deer out in the field is fine as he can graze in the field. But when somebody goes after his hind end with a bow and arrow or a shotgun or whatever rifle, that joke will take off. Yeah. He can sense it and smell it. But the price he has to pay is running. And what is he running for? Something that's been imposed on you, Pastor Norman, that you can't change. Mm-hmm. Something about your character you can't fix. Something about your job is weighing heavy and you're about to lose everything. We've been through that. But who goes through it? It is no longer I that live, but Christ that live. In the life I live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. For me, what did he do? Go to the cross, die for us? No. What in the ham sandwich you go to the cross to die for? Your misplaced identity. Exactly. That cross helped in symbolizing you getting back home to your union, Father, God, oneness, son, daughter. It ain't got nothing to do with church. It ain't got nothing to do with anointings. It ain't got nothing to do with paper. It ain't got anything to do anything with a fivefold ministry. It doesn't have anything to do with driving a car so many miles to get the people to preach and heal. And it's not about that. Once you understand who you take it deeper, because each time you bring a miracle of expression to somebody about this, the next time we have class, I must be willing to expand a little bit more into this revelatory beingness.
Yep.
And line upon line and precept upon precept, you can't stay where you are being, I just got this. I'm gonna make a temple. I'm gonna make a church. I'm gonna build a building. And no sooner you build a doggone thing, you ain't pushed out enough. You ain't pushed out enough guts. You ain't pushed out enough oil. Hey, you still using bacon grease, fat back meat, fish grease to cook them eggs.
We've been watching these videos of the little babies fussing with their parents or their guardians, and they can't even talk. They're in diapers. Okay. And so one of them was fussing. He was talking his gibberish, and he's wiggling his hands like this. And then she said, "You're still in diapers, and you still drinking milk."
She said, "You still getting drunk off of milk."
So that tells me that our willingness to have a soft heart and to walk in that place.
You have to.
Life tends to, I won't say life, but circumstances tends to make the heart close.
Yeah.
For fear of being hurt. Yes. And that will prevent you from being able to push it out.
Selfishness says, I'll stretch my hand out, I'll give you food. Mm-hmm. Watch this. Selfishness says, it's not, I'm not condemning it. I'm telling you how to get it straight now. When I stood in front of this grocery store down there, I wasn't standing there to take their job or to do work for them on the Salvation Army side. I was just standing there talking to the boy and the lady. And because I had on my red and my hat, they thought I worked for them. So everybody started driving up in front of them, give me money out of the car window. I didn't do nothing, just stand there. And they hadn't got a dime in their bucket.
Wow.
And people were putting money
in my hand. Rhoda wanted to stop right there in front of the store in front of them. And they've been standing there all day long. And he stopped right there and they could give me money right out the window. I said, and then when I got it, I said, well, Lord, am I supposed to take this to Cornerstone or give it to them? You know? Hey. A man came up one day in front of an expensive restaurant. He looked like a bum and a beggar, sleeping under bridges. He said with his open arms and his clothes, can I go in and order something? The guy at the front of the door said, no, we don't allow people like you to go in. You got to be dressed a certain way. I sat there and watched that.
Wow.
And he said, all I want to do is just get something to eat. And the guy that was working for the restaurant said, no, we don't allow people like you in. So here's what the guy did. He turned around, went back and got his Lamborghini. He drove up, and what he had when he first went there was a suitcase. Didn't have nothing in it. But when he came back in the Lamborghini, whatever it is, he pulled the suitcase out, sat in front of the door, and because he had an expensive car, the guy asked, "Can I go in?" He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Let me help you with your bag." He said, "No." He said, "Sir, you didn't know it, that I'm the same guy that came here that you said couldn't go in the restaurant. You don't know who I am." I said, "I own the building that you're in and the other buildings."
Yeah.
He told him that he was fired. He fired him for the other people. That's the reason why the book said, be careful how you entertain angels. For some strangers, because some entertain angels unaware. If you ever find out how to recognize earth angels, it will change.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know that all the people I live with, they were angels.
Yeah. That a lot of people are uncomfortable when they see him cry. And think it's out of sadness, but it's not out of sadness, it's out of pure seeing.
Exactly.
And what we preach and teach as concepts, he really sees, and so it has emotional about it. And so a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, but an open heart doesn't mind showing emotion.
Exactly. And I love that you said that, because that's one of the things that the male ego deals with, especially dealing with their vibe that they come out. Because of course we was coming up in a time where they told you never let someone see you cry. As a man, you never let no one see you cry or whatever. And
believe it or not, some women have that same philosophy.
For a while, that was the dominant thought in my mind and in my character, until I did meet Bishop. And I remember it was through being with him that the wall that I had, and that paradigm that I was dealing with, that fortress in my mind about being a strong man. Now y'all and my people know I cried at the drop of a hat, but it was because there was something that was literally broken and destroyed when I met Dad. I found out that a strong man is one that is not ashamed.
Yes, to show emotion.
I just made a call on the phone early this morning. I don't know. All of a sudden, I wasn't able to get Miss Tiffany on the phone, and I said, "I'll take a chance." I did. She was at the hospital this morning.
Okay.
I forgot that her daddy, I think he had some type of prostate cancer, and her voice was real clear. And she said, "I said, where are you?" She said, "I'm at the hospital now. I had to bring Dad in to get examined to see whether that cancer is spread or not."
Oh, okay.
One of the things that I've always wanted to specialize in the specialization of God, if it's such a thing, is to heal cancer. I had a chance yesterday with the doctor, the liver
kidney
kidney
specialist.
specialist.
Dr. McLean. He was a nice young man.
He was what, 30?
37.
37.
Nice young man, yeah.
I saw the grace of God on this man, and I saw his daddy and his little boy, and I talked to him, and we both had masks. He looked and said, "What else?" And we went on, and I said, "I'll be back to see you." And then I had a chance to talk to receptionist. She lives in High Point. I had a chance to tell her about the presence of God in her life. Pastor, you guys out there, it's a frightening thing to have to give up something that you have been using as a crutch all your life and found out that the crutch no longer exists. It wasn't real from the beginning.
I know.
The suffering that is going on right now in the east of Russia and in our Ukraine.
Yeah.
I don't like to look at that too much.
No, I can't.
Because I find myself being pulled in. I don't got to where I can't look at bulldozers in them pictures I like, and sometimes them things be stuck in the mud, and I be telling them on television how to get the doggone thing out, and the voice say,
like they can hear them.
Yeah, I could tell. I said, all you got to do is get behind and get another bulldozer, and then pull the thing out the mud. They'd be digging around it, and water still coming in, scraping around it.
Yesterday we were watching him, and the guy was stuck. He was using what kind of equipment was that? He was digging with the bucket,
and
he said they need a dozer, and right after he said that, the man said, we need a dozer.
I'm telling you,
you sound like my mom. I tell my mom all the time, I said, "Mom, it's just TV."
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, just TV is an indication. You over here and they over there. Do you know when she or you said that you were both experiencing universalness? The university of universalness?
Universality.
Who?
Universality.
Oh, universality. Yeah.
Universalness.
Universalness.
It made a new word.
Let me add that word to my mystic dictionary.
I know. I made up one last week. I said, "Oh my God, I'm doing the same thing." It was thinkingness.
All right.
Thinkingness or something like
thinkingness.
that. Thinking. Yeah.
Hey, now let me share this with you right quick. I said, what am I here for? And as soon as I said that in the morning, I turned the television on and here the Course in Miracles is on. And I went to it and I typed in a question. How does enlightened one or people operate in miracles and healings? I typed it in, I didn't see it right, so I changed it again. Let me show you something. Your infinite stillness is waiting for the right. It plays the game. It'll taunt you. Say it this way. Then you say it. It don't quite hit. It don't quite pay the bill. Okay. When I dated her, I couldn't talk to her like I do now. Because if I did some of the things then that I do now, I done lost my date. I done lost my sweet. I ain't getting no more sugar. That's the end of that. You go away and you come back again because you got to talk to somebody about her. Because if you don't, I mean, any woman like that, I mean, man, you got to be sensitive. I mean, women are designed for you to fantasize. I look online and I see these pictures where the raining and the place is so relaxing, rainstorm and thunder and lightning, and in this pretty place. And I said, baby, that place right there, that's what we need to build outside so we can sit there beside each other. I said, I can see you and I sit beside each other, just reminiscing. She said, you're fantasizing. No, I ain't as realistic to me. That travel of the spirit has to become an identity of oneness with God. Now watch this. I tell people sometimes, the lady said to me, I'll never forgive you. I don't care what you do. I'll never. And I stand there and I look at her. you ain't gonna tell me to kiss your hind end but so many times. Because you know the first thing I'm gonna tell you, if your hind end that good, you ought to sell it. You ought to put a tag on it. And I say, and I think the Lord said to me, said, if you want to, you can plug them up if you want to. That's what he said to me. Just play it straight out. I said, no, I am not going to say that over them. Because what I put out there in my word may go around the back door and bite me in the butt.
It will.
And I'm scared. Now, there are some cases where I've had in the church when I walked up the aisle and I looked at certain one that said, ma'am, where's your cousin or your brother? He's at home. I said, well, you get your black suit ready and put on your best shoes. I said, because he's getting ready to die. Now, I say that only not because I'm being mean and ugly and trying to prove to anybody and something. They say, really? Go home and come back. They gone.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be careful with this.
Yeah, because the ego would love to do that.
It's been times where I had that knowing, and I fought not to share it.
Now, Pastor, please excuse me. This is for you guys over here. This is grown folks talk. We ain't talking kindergarten, Sunday school talk. This is grown folks talk. Eternal talk. Okay, go ahead.
And go ahead, Pastor Norm, but our time is gone. So
but I would just say how difficult it is when you know and you heard it or you become one with it, whatever, and to share that with that person. I've had those incidences and the same response. They looking at you kind of funny in order to find out it actually happened. A lot of times as I'm sharing it, the event was happening right there and so forth. And so again, it's showing what you said earlier about us all being one. You know the event is happening because you are one with that person.
Exactly.
It's that universal connection.
Good.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
Quickly.
You lost the building. I lost one.
I ain't losing no building.
Now wait a minute. Just hold your mule, man. Hold still. And I'll tell you what's the biggest deal about this. Well, are the same people coming? Yeah. God relocated his consciousness because there's other consciousness in different territories and area. I moved from the barbershop in Winston to the barbershop in Greensboro. None of them been able to put my hair back up there.
What?
And I've been blowing trying to get the pop out. It won't do it. But there are some people there. You talking about people that like to drink with football gangs and baseball. I run into some people in this barbershop over there that just, they walk like they got asbestos underwear on and hell is right around them. But I have fun with them. I can talk to them. And that don't mean I couldn't talk to them somewhere. Here's my point. There are some people you're supposed to meet, Pastor, if it ain't nothing but passing them in the grocery store. The calling of God is Christ and all men being seen. Lift the veil. Allow that veil to be lifted so you can see. Not look at them, but see through them. You're going to run into someone going to give you the finger out there and act ugly.
Well, I want to blow your mind. I want to give a praise report.
Okay.
Right.
You mentioned about that because, of course, I've been wanting to call y'all, but I said, I'm going to just wait. But I'll just share it now. We had our first corporate service. You're coming together on this past Sunday at a new location, which is at the Low Country Convention Center, which is, major hotel facility that has conventions and everything. And so that's where we are at now. And it was our first service because, of course, we with y'all last weekend before. And this was funny because I had not done this even when we were in the other location for a long time. As I came to the end of the service, and it was a very unusual service, it was amazing. It really was. And as I came to the end, I was about to dismiss everyone. I had this impression. Opened up the doors of the church. I had not done that for years. Even when we was at another location, other people had
Mhm,
to come and say they want to join, whatever stuff like that. But I
mhm.
had this impression to
Mhm.
open up the doors of the church, and I did. And so when I opened up the doors of the church, of course, I couldn't see the individual because the individual was behind me. It was the musician that we had got in contact with to come
Mhm.
play for us.
Mhm.
Everybody was clapping. I didn't know what they was clapping for. So I said, "Look behind you," and I looked behind me. The musician had his hand up. He wanted to join.
Wow. Oh,
The
wow.
his first time with us,
Mhm.
Wow.
join. And so as we're welcoming him and stuff, all of a sudden this other young lady comes down the side, and she's in tears, and she's wanting to join. First time,
Wow.
and
Wow.
so, and these are new people, and so that was a sign to me right then and there.
Yeah.
I had no intentions of doing that.
Wow.
Had two individuals
Man,
join
I hear you. I hear you.
23. Yep.
We hear
So
you, Lady Gwen. We hear you.
what is happening with you, and you are really an example of what we said earlier on in this broadcast, that the correction was made, and now you're not even going to have to work hard to rebuild, but you're not rebuilding what has been torn down, you're building anew.
Exactly. And
Okay,
Yes.
here's the
that's
gift.
what
Here's the
came.
gift.
Yep.
Lady Gwen, it was amazing service.
Mhm.
When you get home, if you're already home, when I see you again, I want to hear some good news. Take this little short man called Armstrong, your husband, in the back room and fix it up
For the broadcast,
and tell God
Oh my
that
God.
He gave you the best gift in the world. Amen.
Oh, Lord.
hey, amen to
I have to
that.
do that for her. I have to tell. Look, I have to tell her often how I appreciate her.
Yes, you do.
And that's what I'm saying. You have to do it, and it can't be done on a letter sometime or on the telephone. You have to go to them and
Yes.
tell them.
And on that note, we are going to end.
Yes, thank you.
She said, "Oh my." Yes, I said, "Oh my," too.
Mom,
Oh
before we
my.
end, and I just want everybody, because again, it deals with the awareness.
Mhm.
I don't share that from a place of ego.
Mhm.
I share that from a place of love, because exactly like my wife just said with the young lady that joined, that is what it was. What was shared with me was based off of the character that I presented. They were
Mhm.
drawn to that, and
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I've come out of that religious box that I was so confined by so many years.
Mhm.
I just want to love people. That's all.
Yes,
Mhm. That's
yes.
it.
Love on people. I want to help people. It's not about
That's right.
numbers, performing.
That's right.
It's not about that. And if we could come to that place, we will have more people that would be attracted to the character of Christ and be
Yes,
Yeah.
drawn
yes.
in. And that's what it's all about. So I just want to share. I don't want to share that as, oh my God, we had people come and oh nah, that's not where I'm at anymore.
But
I'm glad. That's a good sign.
that's a very good uh what do I want to call it? Indicator
Yeah.
of the rebuild
Yeah. Yeah.
or the new build.
Yeah.
That is a very good indicator, because in you know for yourself, with churches,
Mm-hmm.
their music is key.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you to have the first person to join you in 2023
Mm-hmm.
to be a musician,
That's good.
that's an indicator right there.
That's
So
a
I'm
good
just
one.
rejoicing with you.
We are.
Yeah.
And his name is prophetic as well.
Wow. What is it?
His name is Wisdom.
Ah,
Oh, really?
oh my gosh.
That's his name for real.
Oh
Yes,
my
that's his
God.
name for real. His name
Wow.
That's
is Wisdom.
wonderful. That's
Yes.
wonderful.
I like
Well,
to
I
see him.
tell you guys, this has been a great talk today, a great session today. And I'm so glad you all came in to join us. Oliver
Yes.
saying that that's an original foundation, which is our oneness with God. It's a new foundation that's being built. Yes, yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
All right, sweethearts, we're going to take off here, and we'll see you guys again on Sunday. We'll be back at 10. Pastor Norman will be back. What time you coming on?
Well, I no longer come on at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. So
Sunday.
we have
You
our service at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I start a 10 a.m. Saturday
10
broadcast.
a.m. Saturday. Oh,
Yes,
oh,
yes,
oh,
yes. I
oh,
just
okay.
started that last week. So yeah, so you can catch me at 10 a.m. on Saturdays and come join us at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Low Country Convention
Okay.
Center. Yes.
All right. I'm gonna have to put that on there so they can see it. And that needs to be announced
Yeah.
so people can follow you. Yeah. So we know now that you're coming on Saturdays at 10.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Walk
Very
in the
good.
light.
Just tested a few things and see where it goes.
Good. Good.
Again, because it's hard to do the 11 a.m. and then I gotta run to do the 2 o'clock.
Exactly. I understand. But you're making all the right moves and uh, testing the waters, and it's paying off for you. I'm so happy for you, Pastor
A new
Norman.
foundation, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh,
Very
I
happy.
like that, Dad. Ooh,
But
you said that just now.
A new
I'll be
foundation.
honest, I felt an impact, like
new
something
foundation.
just jumped in me when you said
Yeah.
that new foundation. Wow.
New
Yeah, that's
foundation.
what Oliver mentioned before. A new
Yeah.
foundation.
Mhm.
New
A new
foundation.
foundation. That's what it is. That's what it is. And it's a new build, not a rebuild.
Oh, a
Ooh,
Cadillac DeVille,
thank
huh?
you.
It's a
Thank you.
Cadillac DeVille.
Thank you. A new bill, not a
A
rebuild.
new build, not
All
a
right.
rebuild.
Will
Yeah.
you give me the give me the permission to preach that?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I love that. I love that.
It's
A
a new
new
build, not a
bill, not
rebuild.
a
You're not
rebuild.
you're not trying to resurrect the old. You're not trying to resurrect the old. You are
Wow.
you are birthing something new, totally new.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Yeah.
I might have to preach that tonight.
Do it. Do it. I know you're tired up.
So lay it out there and drop a brick on it.
Guys, we're gonna see you next time. We love you and thank you for coming to join us today. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.